Just one. We have so many mics, they're raining over here. Just back here. Sit back. All right. And just like I said, we have them coming in as they're coming in. Mr. Ahmed Best. And I planned this weeks ago when I did this panel. You were going to sit next to me because I'm a big Jar Jar fan. But yeah, we cut the music there. How you guys doing? I meant you guys. How are you? I thought how are you guys
doing great. Thank you. We are great.
You having a good time? You guys been to? I know you've been in the area before. Have you guys been to the New Jersey area before?
Yes, a few times. Love it. Yeah,
I
familiar.
have not. This is my first time.
This is your first time?
Yeah. We went out on the harbor last night, out on the water, to see the whole skyline and go by Lady Liberty. It was awesome.
Oh, that's fantastic. And Ahmed, you're from the area, right?
Yeah, I went to high school in Jersey. Columbia High School, Maplewood, New Jersey. Maplewood, South Orange Township. So yeah, I'm back. I went to see my mom yesterday. It was cool. Thank you.
That's fantastic. And we have Mr. Kerry Jones who's going to come and join us. This is the strangest panel I've ever done. They're just coming in. They're coming in. You know, I'll just give you this seat.
Oh my goodness.
So we have even.
Hi. Hi, how are you?
They're like reunions.
They know each other. And Miss Emily Swallow. And Ming, is she there? Ming, there? And let's occur herself, Miss Amy Allen. And we're missing one. Laura Mary Kim. Is she here? I am here, yeah. All right, now we have.
We were in the room and then we were on the panel immediately. Sorry.
No, that's okay. This is the first day of this con, the second panel, so we're just got a great crowd out there. And we already have opened up to you guys for some questions. So if you guys have really good questions, and I will personally give a free T-shirt to the guy or girl that comes up with the best question, okay?
Well, how do you judge that?
Because I'm a narcissist, that's how I'm going to judge it.
Hi, how are you? Nice to meet you.
We're all doing introductions. That's good. So it's great to see you guys here. This is the largest Star Wars panel I've done, so this is going to be fantastic. So I thought I'd just started randomly, like, I don't know. Ahmed, talk to me about The Mandalorian. That was such a fantastic surprise. And I loved how when Grogu was in the elevator being saved, and they froze on the door for a second, it was just long enough for me to go, all right, whoever's behind this door, it's going to be cool.
Yeah.
Go.
Well, thank you. This was the first time I was cool in Star Wars. Usually I'm quite silly, but it was great. When Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni and Rick Famuyiwa, they were one of the ones who really convinced me to come back and do The Mandalorian, because Mandalorian there's a whole bunch of new people. It's like a whole new fandom, whole new group of folks, and new stories. So I was like, I don't know if I really fit into this thing, but they were really wonderful and took care of me, and it was really great. It was weird being back on the Star Wars set after 25 years. Wow. Yeah, that's a long time. I'm old. I don't look at Black Don't Crack. Black Don't Crack. Black Don't Crack. Even in the Star Wars galaxy, it don't crack. Nope. We use the Force on our face. Shea butter. You know what I'm saying? So, it was weird being back, but it was just like coming home. And then Carl Weathers directed my episode, and I was kind of freaking out about that. And every time he gave me a note, I tried not to be like, that's Apollo Creed. That's Apollo Creed. Apollo Creed just gave me a note. Apollo Creed. So it was just really wonderful to be there and being taken care of, and it was great, and thanks for letting me be a part of it.
Did you do a lot of training? Because your lightsaber, that was great. I know you have a background in
yeah, I'm a martial artist. I mean, I grew up doing martial arts. I've been doing it for 40 plus years, so it was real easy to jump in there, and I didn't really, that's like 1/10 of 1% of what I could do.
Oh, hey.
I just
whoa.
Hey.
Whoa, So are we?
They didn't
Are we
really
gonna
let
see?
me. If I cut loose, I mean, it would have been clones everywhere, but body parts.
So can we assume that we're going to see the other 90% somewhere down the road?
I mean, if y'all text Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, just shout them out and be like, yo, we'd like to see.
What was his number again?
Yeah, that's 323-111-1112.
Someone's going to call that number, and some guy named Joe's going to pick up.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, you know, Star Wars is a family that I've been a part of for such a long time, and all I got to do is call and I'm there.
Well, I hope to see you, because I thought that was a great
I
part.
hope to see me too.
Can
'cause
I
need health
interject
insurance.
something?
Absolutely. You can
Slightly
do
off
whatever you'd
topic.
like.
So I have to tell you that the last convention I was at, you know, there's always so many incredible Star Wars cosplayers. And so I thought, well, somewhere out there's got to be people who can do some pretty good Star Wars voice impressions. It was sad. But the two that came up the most were Yoda and Jar Jar. So there's a lot of people who try to emulate you, even though you were the original.
Thank you so much. You know, when in Attack of the Clones, I was playing when Frank Oz wasn't there. I was Yoda. I would do Yoda.
Really?
Yeah. It was weird because they were just like, well, who's gonna do? And Yoda. This is right when Yoda was CGI. Right before it was Frank Oz with his hand and walk around, and it was always crazy because, you know, Frank Oz. I don't know if anyone has ever seen it, like behind the scenes of him and Jim Henson and the Muppets and all that stuff. They are amazing, just characters, actors, performers, right? And when Yoda wasn't being controlled, he kind of looked just weird. And so we would all just walk past kind of just catatonic Yoda. And then as soon as Frank Oz entered Yoda's body, it just came alive, this thing. I mean, it had a personality. It was beautiful. But in Clones, he was all CG. So it was just a statue. And then Frank was like, well, if I'm not controlling it, shouldn't even be there. So he wasn't there, right? So rather than hire somebody to read Yoda's offlines, George was like, Ahmed can do it. And I was like, okay.
All right, so let's hear it. We got to hear it now.
I can't do it now.
Here's a couple of us.
I've had a few since last night.
All right. And speaking of performance, Carrie, I want to talk about your performance in the Book of Boba Fett. You got all the makeup on and all this stuff on, but the way you did that, like, that anger look that Costanza has, how did you do? Were you really mad? Were you hot or something? It was a great performance under all that makeup because your eyes looked really, really angry.
No, I mean it was. There was a team of people there, which I gotta always give them a shout out. There was a team of people there that made sure that I didn't die. It was like, you know, the people that maintained the suit, made sure that if I needed water and to stay cool, they were always there. So it was actually not as bad as you'd think. You know, I never had a day where I was you know, too hot, upset, or overweight. It was, you know, I mean, a lot of that came from because I did my own stunts. So a lot of that anger, a lot of the takes they used was like take 3 when I was amped up fighting, because every single fight was me against, you know, 8-9 people. So I was constantly like lifting and throwing and having guys on my back, and so a lot of that was just the adrenaline going, you know, because even in between takes, I wouldn't sit down. I'd walk to the side and I'd pace to keep the energy up, and we just keep going and keep going. Even the fight with Boba Fett, you know, that whole scene, you know, we would laugh. Me and Tim would laugh about it because he did a lot of his own stuff, but there were times where if I had to throw him across the room or lift him, it was stundo. So you know, I'm sitting there, you know, raging and ready to go, and then he'd say, all right, you know, and he'd walk off set. And then I'd fight again for another hour, and then the stunt and Tim would come back all refreshed. All right, here we go. And I'm like, all right, you know.
You're exhausted. He's fresh to go.
But he's fresh to go.
He was in the bath.
Yeah. But no, it was awesome. It was, and a lot of that, you know, when I was waiting for, you know, before we started shooting, I would go to the company Legacy Effects, who created that suit. I would go into their shop and And while they were doing their thing, I would just stare at in the mirror. I had them put a mirror in front of me, and I would just say, okay, what does that look like? What does this look like? So a lot of those emotions and moments I kind of figured out way beforehand. And then, yeah, I mean, it was just a lot of testing and rehearsal, and because I was able to make the mask move. They came with a system where if my brows would make the brows of the mask move, and that mouth was my mouth. So I was able to control all that.
No, because it was good, because Wookiees are always portrayed as good guys and good gals. They're always on the good side, Chewbacca, Tarful, and the cartoons and so forth. And and you guys came right out like that's a villain. But he does become,
He does. Well, listen, he goes where the money is. And I think that's what I tell everybody, because if the money's on the bad side, that's where he's at. If it's on the good side, that's where he's at. So he goes where the money is. But when I was talking to the first person I talked to about it was Robert Rodriguez, and when we talked on the phone, the very first thing that he said to me, he just straight up said, he said, the guy is always pissed off, always. Okay. Every time you look at him, I want him to look pissed and always ready to snap at any moment. And that's what he kept saying to me. So like I said, I just, whether how I stood or whatever, I just kind of embodied that, I took the moment in my life at any time that I was ready to snap and crushed it into that one thing,
And you did a great job.
Kind of what it was.
Chris, I was going over which character of yours I can bring, because you have so many. So I thought I'd ask you, what's your favorite? You have such a large list.
My favorite is, and I've mentioned this before, but Q90 in Mandalorian Season 1. I got to, thank you.
Q9 love.
For Zero. I got to fly Mando's ship, which all of the switches worked, and they flipped on and off, and the lights and everything. And so I built my own cardboard spaceship as a 7-year-old, so I had prepared for this moment my whole life. And then I got a cool shootout in the streets of Navarro, which is again something that I did as a kid. And then I got a cool death, as an actor. It was just like I got to do everything I wanted to do in Star Wars. And plus he was so different from 3PO. This is my 18th year playing 3PO for Lucasfilm, and Zero was a cold killing machine, but he's also smarter than everybody. He wants everyone to know that he's smarter than organics. He was a lot of fun. He had a lot of interesting backstory that I just kind of filled in. But 3PO is really the most notable, character that I've played, and everybody recognizes, obviously, 3PO and R2 together. And as 3PO, you just see through the tiny black pupils in 3PO's shining eyes, right? And they're the size of drinking straws, so they're really small. And if you can look around inside the helmet too, which could make you feel claustrophobic if you do that, so I don't recommend that. But what I do is I focus on what's outside what's going on outside me, and it's all like smiles or stormtroopers or aliens or incredible things that you see in Star Wars. So I try to focus on what's outside, but and I do the voice for 3PO as well, and have worked with Anthony Daniels several times. And if he were here, he might say, "My goodness, why hello, I am C-3PO, Human Cyborg Relations, and it's quite a pleasure to be here in New Jersey."
Marty, how you doing?
Great. How are you? I'm well caffeinated. Thank you.
Yeah, I've been going to Wild Bill's, the soda place down the corner here at the convention, so I got a lot
Good
of
to fuel up for these, yeah.
Absolutely. So, how'd you get involved in Star Wars?
It was an audition process. I think the recommendation came through the Creature Suit world, where I've had a 20-plus year run being stuffed away in latex suits and bizarre armor, and the pirate outfit of Vane. Wearing pajamas. It was just a head. I got to wear a wardrobe. I had pockets. I could use the restroom anytime I wanted to. Yeah, it was great. It was a vacation.
Any memories from your time on Mandalorian?
I mean, meeting Baby Yoda for the first time. Yeah,
Okay, what was that
fantastic.
like?
Well, they shot my side of the action first, and I didn't even know that he was in the scene because I only got a few pages that were relevant to my stuff. And then when they turned everything around to shoot that side, they wheeled him out. And I lost my shit. So there's this 6'6" giant, nubbly-faced alien, and this little pram comes out, and oh my god! And then as soon as you approach them, you know, obviously he has, I don't want to spoil anything, but he has technicians that run him. They see you coming a mile away. They like to practice. So as soon as I got close to him and I was kind of checking him out, they brought him up and started looking and twitching, and I lost my shit again. And then when I came to, everyone was staring at us, and I realized what we were doing, and we got back to make believe.
Yeah, they brought him out at Celebration. Emily, you were there on the stage, I think, once when they brought him out, and he's looking at the audience, and I was like right in the front, because I'm special. But anyway, I was right in the front, and he's looking right in my eyes. It's really realistic.
He knows things.
And he reduces you to an idiot, even though you know he's not real.
Yep,
It
doesn't matter.
happens.
He just turns on and he's alive.
He's as real in person as he is on TV. Really, up this close. We've worked with him that close, and he's very special.
Is he ever
Demanding sometimes. You gotta like get him out of his trailer, but mostly he's
Big diva.
But
he's young though. He's learning.
he's very young. He's not aging at all. He looks the same exact when he was with
Well,
Ahmed.
no, he was 50 when we met him.
Yeah, that's
Remember?
He's 50.
Right. And was he 20, I guess, when you were with him?
He doesn't suffer fools,
But
I'll
he
tell
looks-
you that much.
He
He
looks
really
exact-
sounds like this. Yeah, how you doing? I gotta go goo gaga for another week.
That's why they don't let him talk much.
So you wouldn't do Yoda, but you would do Grogu.
I do the real, I only do impressions of people doing impressions. That's my whole bit. So I could do Baby Yoda's real voice. God, I gotta do this thing again. Oh, here we go, goo goo gaga. So you're gonna save me, huh? You, huh? Mr. Binks the Gungan.
It's pretty accurate.
But Emily, how are you doing today?
I'm great, thank you.
You know, I thought for sure you were going to take your helmet off. I thought at the end of those.
Yeah, a lot of people did.
I really did.
A lot of people
I
thought a
really
lot
did.
of wrong things this season, including that I was a spy. What? Who here thought that the
I
armorer
did.
was a spy?
Because they named the episode Spies, plural. So they had to find the second one, and they're like, oh, it's got to be her. That's what I heard.
Well, yeah, but still. Why? She had been nothing but good and honest and
Exactly.
good.
No, I didn't mean like I thought she was going to take it off before the season started, but as you were talking about
Yeah.
when you had Bo-Katan take her helmet off, and I thought you were going to be like, oh, come, let's do it. And you did.
Nope.
Maybe later?
Not to my knowledge. I mean, I'm sure if she ever removes her helmet, they will have a brilliant reason for it because they always do. But I really love for this character that we don't attach to a face, that we don't attach to something personal, because I feel like she exists so much in service of other characters and so much in service of the story that I think it's kind of helpful, like not to, you know, there's a lot of people who are like, oh, I can't wait for you to take your helmet off, and then I'm like, okay, but then what? You know, it'd be like, oh, well, that's what she looks like. But then we need a really compelling reason for it, I think, because I think it is, and it's not, at this point, I love that they have developed it so that this character who held so strongly to this external manifestation of the way, which was wearing the helmet, has embraced and welcomed acceptance of people who aren't wearing their helmets, but she's like, but you know, this is still the thing for me. You know, I really like that it didn't come down to that everyone's going to do it one way or the other, but that they can have, you know, they're accepting different beliefs. But for her, I don't know, I just like not knowing what she looks like. And it's just easier for me because I don't have to go through hair and makeup.
Is it hard to do like the action scenes with that helmet on like that? You had some good fight scenes this year.
Yes, and I am getting better and better at the training for those, thanks partly to Ming and Lauren here. But I don't do all of them. I have to give credit where credit is due. And yes, it is, I mean, it's hard to do anything in those helmets. And then if you're doing anything that's active, you're breathing heavier, and so the whole thing like gets fogged up. You can't really see who it is that you're going for. Lauren did the stormtrooper fight in season 1, and you had to do every single time was just one continuous take, right?
Yeah, he
So-
made us do like oneers, like I don't know, like 100 times or something. It was insane. But you have to learn how to nose breathe. That's how you don't get the fogginess. So if you cosplayers, nose breathing helps. And shampoo. Like I put a thin line of shampoo and that will help with the fog.
See, look at all these
Or
practical
spit.
things.
So
here.
shampoo.
Or spit.
Or spit.
And
I used
be
to
a
put
nose
spit
breather.
in my goggles. My dad taught me that when I was a kid.
Yeah,
When you're
very
in the
similar.
pool, yeah.
Baby shampoo smells better.
Yeah, true.
That part.
Yes.
Yeah, probably.
Well, since Lauren, we were talking about stunt work. How did you get involved in stunt work?
Stunt work in general or Star
Just,
Wars?
okay, Star Wars.
Oh,
I'm talking
okay.
about the Star Wars. But if you
so-
got a good story about stunt work in general, you can bring that up too.
Oh goodness. I don't know. I got an email from Lucasfilm asking if I wanted to play a character, and I had no idea what it was. And then they signed an NDA, and they're like, "We're bringing back Clone Wars," and I was like, "What?" So then they told me the whole like plan, and it was really cool because I was like, no one knows about this but me, and I got to embody Ahsoka as the motion capture character in Clone Wars. So that was really cool. So that's how I got it.
And so that was the first part of it. I thought it was great because that fight scene just seemed extra realistic like that. And before I'd even heard that you were there, and I guess so was Ray Park, who
Yes.
did live action stuff. Because
Yeah.
when you saw Maul fighting in that episode, it looked like him from the Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
And there was something about it, and
Yeah.
it was a fantastic scene.
Yeah, it was the first time they ever done motion capture for an animation show for at least for Star Wars. Yeah.
And you've done a couple other Star Wars things. I don't know if we could talk about them.
Oh yeah, I did Mandalorian. Oh, I did Mandalorian, and I don't know if this is working. Is this working? And I actually got to, like
Thank you,
Emily
Miss
said, I
Emily.
got to double Emily on the armor fight. I did Koska Reeves. I did the Magistrate. I did one scene for Ming Na, but Ming normally doubles her. So yeah, I got to do some collection throughout the seasons.
Okay, cool. Do you have a favorite? that comes to mind?
I think I would say either Clone Wars because I got to work with Dave Filoni like one-on-one, but then I got to work with him on the armor fight, and he's just so collaborative and positive. Like you guys all know, he's such an amazing guy to work with. So yeah, he's like the god of Star Wars.
So hey, Amy, how you doing?
Good.
I'm so glad to finally meet you. But I just, I love your character, Illa Secura. I thought she was great in both Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. And I hate that scene on Felucia when she. Oh, it's heartbreaking because it's just, she's so confident in front of her soldiers, and she thinks it's going to be fine, and then, well, I don't want to spoil it. We didn't know, but it doesn't end well.
Well, I wish I knew Lauren and Ming back then, because for me, it sort of was like a few people in the Lucasfilm world. I had crossed over from being an employee to, being cast as a character in Star Wars. So it happened very quickly, and with not a lot of training. So these two would have come in handy back then, 22 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
20, God,
Yeah, I know, it's been a long time.
But so you worked on Lucasfilm before you became an actress?
So I was a production assistant on Star Wars on Attack of the Clones at Industrial Light and Magic.
And they just said, like, wow, she'd be a great Jedi.
Yeah,
Let's look it
well,
up.
what happened was everybody came back from Australia, and it was sort of a last-minute idea. George saw the cover of a comic book, and my production manager put a copy of it on my desk and asked if I wanted to do it, and I was in my early 20s and didn't really think twice about it, and said, okay, sure. And so, yeah, I went from getting coffee and running around on stage to, a couple weeks later, transforming into Illa Secura, not knowing what would become all these years later. So, I know, it's pretty wild, but it's real. It's always a pinch me moment.
And Ming, I thought we could discuss about how did you get into the stunt world and into Star Wars, into Lucasfilm specifically.
Let's talk about Star Wars.
Okay.
I doubled Ming Na Wen for Agent Shield for
Marvel,
many
right?
years. Yeah, so she brought me on Mandalorian. Actually, tell you guys something. When she called me the day before Christmas, and she said, "Hey, I got a call from Lucasfilm. I'm not sure about this character. I don't know if I should take the job. I'm a big fan, but the story, I'm not quite sure." So I told her, "Ming, if you don't like the character, don't take the job." And she's like, "Okay." So she actually told them no. She turned down the job.
I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
Yes. And then they called her back. They said, "We're willing to do anything." So they changed the script and make it better. Because she didn't like the, she's supposed to die in the scene, and she didn't like the way she died. So I'm glad she took the job, and
Good for you.
yes, right. So I worked with her on Mando, Boba Fett, and I had also had a chance to work on Obi-Wan Kenobi. Yeah, as playing myself.
Right.
Right. So yeah, very
As a
fortunate.
Jedi.
As a Jedi, yes. So I can do what I'm good at.
Yeah. Ming is so good because so season 1 of The Mandalorian, I didn't know coming into it that the character was going to be fighting or anything, and I'm very active and always very game to jump into things, but I didn't have any martial arts training. And so when I found out they were bringing the armor back for the Book of Boba Fett, I made sure to reach out to them in advance and say, like, are there any fights? And I said I would love to get to train for it. And so Ming is phenomenal and so patient, and she is such a gifted martial artist herself, but such a giving teacher. And she went through that darksaber sequence with me I don't know how many times, and I have to thank you for that, and I'm so glad that I got to work with you on that, because you didn't have to spend all that time with me, and I appreciate it. She's awesome.
I didn't get to spend no time with Ming. I had lightsabers too.
You did your own work though, didn't you? Did you do most of that, or?
Yeah, but I would have loved to have somebody tell me what to do. I had to think about it, figure it out myself.
Well, you're too busy doing Grogu's voice. That's probably why.
Yeah, he was just like, "Okay, best." You know, back when I was in high school in Bayonne, we didn't have to deal with none of this.
All right, so which is really cool. In 21 minutes, I just interviewed 8 Star Wars performers, which is a record. But I want to, we got a mic out there in the middle, so if you guys have a question, I'd love to hear it. We got a little kid running as fast as he can. Will he reach the mic? I don't know. Can he reach it? Can he reach it? He can.
Yeah.
Woo!
What's your name? What's your name?
My name is Dotan.
Is what?
Dotan.
Okay.
Dotan is from Israel.
Ah, you remembered me.
How could I forget?
Actually, I have a question for you. Yeah. Were there any plans for Darth Jar Jar?
Dotan came out the gate swinging. Yeesh. Were there? No, there were no plans for Darth Jar Jar. Are there plans for Darth Jar Jar? Possibly.
Well, you're serious.
Oh, wait.
Yeah, possibly.
Have you read the internet theories about what Jar Jar
I
did
have no idea
in
what
the
you're
course of the prequel trilogy? That like he gave Palpatine the military, the money he needed for the military.
Oh,
And he
yeah.
did all these things that, if you think about it, if it wasn't for Jar Jar Binks, there would be no Emperor Palpatine.
That's right. Yeah, that's very true. Yeah. So all of you better do what I said.
Call Dave Filoni at 322.
999. Yeah, there are possible Darth Jar Jar plans out there in the universe.
A lot of theories talking about your hand movements when you talk to the Senate.
Emergency powers. To the
Oh, like he's casting a Jedi mind trick that he learned from Qui-Gon or
That's the
something?
entire theory, though.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing about the Darth Jar Jar thing. There was a lot of stuff that I did that guy picked up on. Read it. Like, Jar Jar is the basis for Jar Jar are two people, Buster Keaton and Jackie Chan. So everything that I did as Jar Jar physically is either Buster Keaton or Jackie Chan. Buster Keaton was very much George's influence, but Jackie Chan was mine. I grew up watching Jackie Chan movies, and you know, Jackie Chan as a physical actor was one of the few martial arts actors who got hurt, right? When Bruce Lee did anything, it was always and there was all this power. And Jackie Chan would hit somebody and go, oh, he would get hurt, right? And I always loved that. So I just put that into Jar Jar. And you know, Drunken Master and Drunken Master 2 were like huge influences on me as a kid. So Jar Jar was very much Drunken Master. Like I would do a lot of the drunken kung fu in Jar Jar's movements. And so that Reddit dude picked up on it. And I was just like, oh, see you watching. And then, you know, there are times, and the animators kind of picked up on this as well, where I'm mimicking the Jedis. Just to kind of like make fun of them, you know, because I'm not really impressed by Jedi, says Jar. That's why I'm like, ooh, Maxie big the Force. Right? But they're, oh, Maxie big the Force. So there was a bunch of times where they would do something and I'd just be kind of like, yeah, whatever, that doesn't work. And he picked up on that too. So when in Clones as a senator, I just started doing a lot of like the Jedi movements because that's how I learned diplomacy. Like I learned from the Jedis and hanging out with Qui-Gon Jinn, which is why it looks like I'm doing Force.
There you go. Do we have another question from the audience? There we go.
Hi.
Do you know where he's from too?
No, I have a guy drawing graph yet. I'm getting right after this.
We haven't met yet. Toda.
There's a lot of characters in this room. We got Jedi, bounty hunters, Wookiee warriors.
Licensed artists.
If all of them are in a deathmatch scenario, only one's coming out of that room, who's winning?
C-3PO.
I feel like we need to ask you that. We're going to be in total disagreement.
Well, I mean, one Jedi in particular is known for his eloquence with a blade, so I would have to give it to Kelleran.
I mean, you could, but the space pirate's pretty slippery. He keeps finding his way through difficult
Have you seen me with a hammer?
That was a great question. Nice shirt.
Thank you. My question is for Mr. Best. What was it like having the ginormous Jar Jar thing on your head? Was it heavy? Was it awkward?
It was not heavy at all. First, are you science officer or medical?
Medical.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was my guess.
He's a lieutenant commander, by the way.
Lieutenant commander, doctor, lieutenant commander. It wasn't heavy at all. I quite liked it because it felt more like puppeteering than anything else. Like, so I was just using the head like a puppet. So, you know, which is why I was watching Frank Oz so intently. And if I was laughing during the scene, I didn't ruin the take. Like Liam Neeson would laugh all the time and we'd have to do everything over again. So it was fun, and it was mainly for eyeline. But then I just started using it as like comedy. You know what I'm saying? Like I would like turn my body one way and then the head would follow. And I would like really, I was just trying to make everybody laugh, and then all of that stuff kind of ended up in the movie.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor.
Hi. No, I'm just saying these are the.
Hi. Two. One is for Carrie. Given Black Kratan's origins in the comics, was there ever any attempt?
Just closer, just a little
All
closer.
right. Was there any attempt in the Book of Boba Fett to introduce Dr. Aphra alongside Chrysanthemum, or did that just never come up in production, given his comic book choice?
Well, I don't know if I'm out to answer that question. No, and I will say this: in the graphic novels, there's a lot of things that Chrysanthemum is a part of that I think can be explored for sure, and hopefully they do it. You know, he's had run-ins with Obi-Wan. He has run-ins with Darth Vader. He has, I mean, you know, with Han Solo and him and Chewie get into a fight. So I think there's a lot of things that can still be explored, and Chrysanthemum in the world of Star Wars is still very much alive and well and kicking. So I think he definitely has the possibility to show his angry face again, hopefully soon.
And for Lauren, when you were doing Ahsoka's fights for the Teaching War, did you and Ashley X team sort of collaborate on like how Ahsoka does her style, or did you and Ashley not work together?
I never met her until a Comic-Con actually, so we didn't get to, you know, talk about the style or anything. So sadly, no. But I did get to meet Sam Witwer. He came to our mocap shoot, which was really cool to see Ray and him together. But yeah, we didn't get to collaborate, which was a bummer.
Thank you.
This question's for the armor. What were your first opinions on Grogu when you first saw him?
My first opinions on Grogu, well, I mean, I think Marty captured it pretty accurately. He's, you know that it's a puppet, and you get reduced to complete idiocy, which when you're wearing a helmet, doesn't matter, which is nice. And so Grogu couldn't see how much I liked him. What was most exciting for me in that scene was, back in season 1 when I met him, didn't actually come when we were shooting it, because when we shot the scene, I never actually used the word Jedi. They were much more vague about how we were addressing who he might be. And then it was in an ADR session, which is one of the sessions where you go back and you do some of the lines again, just in a voiceover booth. And I was on there with John and Dave, and they said, yeah, we think we want to be more specific, and we want to address that he is a Jedi. And it just gave me chills. It was so exciting. So I thought he was pretty cool from the beginning. And I loved that relationship, that even though he was a potential threat at that time to the Mandalorians, she also recognized that his potential for good and his role as being a foundling, and you know, we have responsibility to the foundlings, that she put that ahead of whatever concerns she might have, and looked out for the little guy.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was a good question.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Hello.
I have a question for Ahmed Best and someone still running. What martial arts did you guys use?
For the Kelvin Beck scenes, I leaned really heavily on a Filipino martial art called Eskrima, which I teach, as well as, yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I teach Filipino Eskrima. I've been doing it for about 20 some odd years, Eskrima. So, you know, Jedis usually are very Japanese. You know, a lot of the previous Jedi stuff has been Japanese. When Christopher Lee was Dooku, he was very, his style was more like European fencing. And they had a fencer double him, as well as like him do some fencing stuff. And I wanted to do something different, and you haven't really seen a lot of the Southeast Asian styles in Star Wars. You've seen a lot of Japanese, you've seen European, you've seen a lot of like wushu, like that was Ray Park was a wushu guy. So a lot of Chinese arts, a lot of Japanese arts, but Southeast Asian martial arts are beautiful, and they move differently, and it's some stuff that you rarely see. It's actually getting more popular now, right? There's a lot of like there's a Southeast Asian martial art called Silat, which is used in, if you ever see the movie The Raid,
Yeah, of course.
The Raid, they do a lot of silat, and those are all silat players, and each region has a different style, right? So even in the Philippines, there's, you know, people who do arnis, eskrima, kali, and, you know, in America, they're just like, oh, it's all the same thing. But if you go to the Philippines, they're like, no, it's not the same thing. And each island in the Philippines does something different. So the style of the eskrima that I do was actually created in Stockton, California.
I'm from Stockton.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
You guys practice the same? Yeah, is the same?
I mean, I studied under Danny DeSanto.
Yeah. Danny, I studied with Guru Dan, JKD in LA. But my grandmaster, Eskrima grandmaster, is named Dentoy Revelar. He just passed, actually. And he was the #1 student of this Escrimador named Angel Cabales, who created this style called Serrata, which is like close-in fighting. If you ever seen like Wing Chun Kung Fu,
I practice.
yeah, I practice Wing Chun as well. Serrata is like the Wing Chun of the Philippines. But the style I do is called Serrata Largo Mano de Cuertes, SLD. And it's all the ranges. So Serrata's close, Largo Mano, long hand, right? That's long range. The Cuertes means like small circles. So Kellerin Beck is more like Largo Mano because I'm fighting a lot of people in a large area. In the Philippines, is like there's jungles, there's plains, there's a bunch of different topographies. Largo Mano is the eskrima or the martial art of the people in the plains, open spaces, right? Serrata is closed in because they're people from the jungle. And, you know, not a lot of open spaces. So because of the scene and, you know, because, you know, everybody wants to see these big moves, these lightsabers, I used a lot of Largo Mano. And I'm an Espada y Daga player, which means stick and knife. So both hands, I can use both hands, which is why the doubles were kind of cool for me. Dan, Guru Dan in the Santo, he does all of them too, but he's mostly Kali. And he learned from this cat named Villa Brill, who is from Stockton, who is off the chain. See, the Filipino martial arts does not get the attention that it doesn't get. The reason why Bruce Lee is because of Danny and Santo, because of the Filipino martial arts. And there's a film out there, I don't know, Filipinos don't really talk too much about, you know, most of Filipino martial arts takes places in like garages and backyards, right? Guru Dan was like kind of the first legit school, and that was because of Bruce Lee. Like Bruce Lee was just like, here are the keys, take it over, right? If you ever get a chance, I also I teach Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and Guru Dan used to train with, my teacher is John Machado from Machado Brothers. Guru Dan used to train with us, and so every time Guru Dan would like do Jiu-Jitsu with us, we'd be like, oh man, that's great. So what was Bruce Lee like? You'd just be asking him Bruce Lee questions, but that's a long way around. Yeah, so it's mostly like Filipino martial arts, screaming. Sorry, I took all the time talking about that. It's a little history of the Philippines from somebody from New York and New Jersey.
I swear, did you whisper that in Dave Filoni's ear? Because when I first got the job for Ahsoka, he was like, I really want like a Eskrima Filipino martial arts style. And I was like, holy crap. So maybe you talked to him about it? I don't know. And then Dave Filoni was the one, not Dave Filoni, Jon Favreau was like, I want someone that does Eskrima for the armor fight. Yeah. And that's what Ryan Watson brought me in. So that's so interesting how it's full circle.
Yeah, I mean, the good thing about Filoni and Favreau is they're really of kind of like the George Lucas school of you do what you, right? They don't try to really, they don't hold too tightly on, you know, what they think it should be. They really want you to bring yourself to it. And yeah, Filoni's a big Eskrima fan, and they wanted to see something different, you know, and Eskrima really works well, especially for the double lightsabers.
Yeah, we have time for just one more question. I'm getting the break from the back, so we got time for one more question.
All right, thank you. May the force be with all of you.
And please make it like a yes and no question. But anyway, we got time. Real quick.
Don't know if it's going to be a yes or no, but this is a random question that was in my head just now. I've been watching like both Star Wars and Marvel from time to time, and out of curiosity, if there's a crossover where Marvel characters can face Star Wars characters, who do you think who do you think will be on your top of your head?
Yes.
Sounds good.
No, I like that. The answer's Star Wars.
The mega movie of all mega movies, the Star Wars Marvel crossover. I'm down. You guys in?
Yes.
Star Wars.
Obi-Wan, Xavier.
Yeah.
Who would that be?
C-3PO Iron Man.
I was thinking more Boba Fett Iron Man. Jetpack, armor,
Mando Iron Man,
tools.
right?
Ben a mannequin?
And a mannequin. Who would Jar Jar be? The Flash Jar Jar? The Flash Jar?
Zoom.
But I want to thank you guys and gals. And I didn't do this with the guys in the back and the girls in the front. This is just how you guys came in the room. So don't think I was being like segregating or whatever. But I want to thank you guys and gals all for coming. This was a great talk.
you.
And I wish we could go on for 3 hours, but apparently we have other panels.
Thank you.
All of you are going to be still here for the weekend in the autograph hall. It'd be great to see you. Ming, you got
Can I say
something?
something? Before we leave, I want to shout out for if you're a Star Wars fan, please watch Ahsoka.
Let me write that. When's it coming out? August 23rd? August 23rd. Let me write that down. Because I had no plans of seeing that with 10 of my friends.
Shout out.
Thanks, guys.
Please watch it.
Awesome.
Yes.
Thanks for coming, everybody.